Hi there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, we've got some sweet treats and some shopping hacks for you. We'll show you where and how. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, stealing a moment to help the endangered steelhead trout. And chosen by a bunny. Easter treats come hopping along. But first, a Vancouver auto show to empower women.
You can actually build your specific spec of vehicle and get estimated payments to verify whether that vehicle is in your budget or not.
Here are the 6 most common engine warning lights that every car owner should know what it means. The check engine light. Not only is it the worst and the scariest, but it is also the most ambiguous. Literally anything could have happened, something small, something big, but because it's the heart of the vehicle, you should probably get it taken care of, but don't panic, but don't ignore. Battery light. You're likely seeing this because your car is not starting. If it lights up and you can still drive normally, there could be something else going on with your battery, so I would not ignore that.
So those are just a few examples of the many car buying tips and tricks and hacks from an Instagram account called Making Auto Easy. And it's run by a Vancouver woman who says after years of working in car sales, she wants to empower more women to feel confident in car ownership. And she's about to launch a new auto show focused solely on women buying cars. Well, Vivian Lou is here to tell us more about it today. Vivian, hi there and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
When did you first get interested in cars, driving them and selling them?
I remember going to auto shows in Toronto growing up and being really excited about the glamour, and I actually really enjoyed driving cars. And that led me to start my career in automotive. So I worked at General Motors for 7 years. I was managing a network of over 80 different dealerships across the country, which is a whole experience. And I realized that despite how male-dominated it was, I thrived in it and loved it.
Well, okay. How many new cars have you had?
I've probably driven around 35 new cars at this point.
Was that one of the perks of the job when you worked for
100%,
GM?
yes, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
So how many, how many months would you drive a car typically?
I drive a new car every 3 or 4 months. You really get to know product that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you love about that? Did the new car smell, the new car feel? You're the first one in there?
Yeah, it's really exciting to get into a new car and knowing the fact that it is brand new. It does smell great. I personally enjoy it. But then to drive around in this brand new vehicle that sometimes people haven't even seen on the road yet, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, you get this, hey, what's that? I haven't seen that model before.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're working in the showroom, though, what's the difference between when a man comes in to look at a vehicle and when a woman comes in? What's the different approach? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's thinking about what is important to them. And what we found is that men generally care about the performance, the speed, whereas women generally don't. Obviously, we want to drive a nice vehicle, one that represents us, something that obviously is zippy around the road. But I find that women also care about not just themselves, but they're thinking about their family, the conditions for their
how do I get the kids in and out?
Exactly. And there are other things that we think about as women, like, where do I put my purse? And those are some of the things that, our boyfriends or our husbands or our fathers are not necessarily thinking about.
Where do we put our purse? Because if I'm by myself, it'll go on the seat beside me.
Yeah.
If I'm with someone else in the passenger seat, I'm sorry to say, it usually goes on the floor underneath my feet. That's not safe, really.
No, definitely not safe and not exactly very clean as well. So, I mean, one of the things that I noticed is in new cars these days, because it's an electronic shifter now in the center console, it means that there's no mechanical parts underneath, which means that they can actually have more storage space there. So there's some vehicles now that have like this little cubby where you can put your purse or snacks even.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Now, that's forward thinking. I've got to say it. Okay, so what got into your mind to put together an event like this?
Well, I love auto shows. I love planning events, and I've planned a lot of auto show and vehicle displays for General Motors in the past over the last 7 years. And I knew that when I wanted to launch my own startup, Making Auto Easy, into the market, that there was no better way than to have our own auto show. And finding a way to empower women was a big passion of mine as well.
Okay, so what's included? I show up at this show. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so besides vehicles being on display, obviously being an auto show, what I'm really excited about is having all of these interactive workshops that are actually led by women in automotive. So we've got Leah's Automotive, she's demonstrating things like how to jumpstart a vehicle, how to change your battery, understanding what's under the hood. And some of our team is also doing, displays on how to understand your tires, how to change a tire. We also have Details by Lady T. They're demonstrating how to actually detail your own vehicle from home. What are the materials that you can use, how to clean perforated seats, and other workshops along that. And what I'm really excited to share is that because our location sponsor is the Jim Pattison Toyota dealership downtown, we're going to have one of every single model available on display over 3 different floors. So those are all available on the showroom
So
floor.
a little bit of a specific car show when you're talking about it, but I like this whole in for women when we're talking about understanding the industry. And you mentioned something interesting about Leah's Automotive. And the other part of that, one thing is choosing your car and finding the one that feels right and maybe has some purse storage as well. But something else is maintaining your car, and that can be really intimidating, can't it? Like going to a mechanic.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of whether you're purchasing a vehicle or getting it serviced, there is this knowledge gap that a lot of women face, and that leaves the car professionals in the industry with a major they're in a position of power. So when you're more educated and you will feel more comfortable, you understand the players, you're going to have a much better experience.
Right. You've made me feel like I need a new car. I don't know. Mine's 10 years old now, but it just feels comfortable, kind of like a comfy pair of shoes, you know. But you do bring up a good point about that new car feel when you're the first one taking it out for a ride. Vivian, we wish you well with the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Matt, and you're watching Our Vancouver.
Ah, yes, the natural beauty of our province continues to inspire so many of you to get outside with your cameras and share some of your images with us. First up, Bikram Rijal sent us this lovely little bird moment taken at Burnaby Lake Regional Park. That is just so sweet. Thank you. And there's nothing pedestrian about this Vancouver street scene. Thank you for such a creative shot, Yushin Kim. And finally, the Aurora Borealis, northern lights over the Caribou. They have just been spectacular. Thanks so much to Warren Lowe once again for this colorful display. Just gorgeous. Isn't nature marvelous? And keep those photographs coming. You can email your favorite photos to us at bcphotos@cbc.ca. All one word, bcphotos@cbc.ca. Well, speaking of spectacular sights, you might want to head out to see one of BC's most ancient birds, blue herons. They've returned to a favorite spot at Vancouver Stanley Park for another breeding season. And you might not know this, but their colonies are considered at risk.
I'm in Stanley Park, and behind me are what some may refer to as dinosaur birds nesting up in these trees. We really mean great blue herons.
They've just returned for their breeding season for 2023. They've been here since about 2001.
There's about 90 nests here. 1/3 of great blue herons worldwide live around BC's coast, but they're considered at risk in the province.
They're very old birds. We found kind of evidence in the Fraser River from 500 BC to 500 AD, which is incredibly old. Across Canada, it's quite a rare occurrence, so we're really lucky.
And even in the hustle and bustle of this park, these birds have returned to raise a new generation. It's rare because human disturbance can cause the birds to abandon their nests.
Generally, they prefer a lot quieter areas around less human activity. But these guys, as you can tell, there's tennis courts around, there's cars driving by, there's people walking their dogs. They're very habituated to human activity.
But here, as the colony settles in, photographers to tourists keenly watch.
So we're from Burlington, near Toronto in Ontario, and this is one of our must-see things.
They're pterodactyls, actually. They're dinosaurs, right? Look at these birds.
They're great pairs, and just fun to watch them.
While these birds seem to be used to humans, the Ecology Society says it's best to keep noise levels down. Drones, dogs running underneath their colony, raccoons, and eagles can also be a threat. Their babies are expected in late July, and you can watch the nests live on the City of Vancouver website. Benit Brage, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, the Prince George family got quite a surprise after coming home from holiday. A large and temperamental goat had taken up residence on their property. Well, we caught up with the family and the not-so-welcome new pet that they have reluctantly named Gordo.
I came home, I was unloading the car, and all of a sudden, in the window there, I saw something chewing on the plastic. So I opened up the door, and a big old billy goat came out. And just strolled out like it owned the place.
And what was your reaction?
Well, I ran. Wasn't scared of anything. Came out looking for food, started eating the trees over there. And then I had no idea what to do because I wasn't expecting to have a goat move in while I was gone. I don't know how long it's been here. We were gone for 7 days before we got back, but it's been here for at least 2. It tries to get into the house every time we come outside. It's tried to break into our window, so we've had to keep that shut. The hot tub behind us, and it was just climbing up onto there and like poking its head by the window.
What was that like, having a goat's head coming in your window?
It was terrifying. We've been feeding it, letting it out because it keeps locking itself back in the shed. Yeah, it owns the place pretty much. We called like 3 or 4 of our friends thinking that they were playing a prank on us.
And you've given it a name.
Yeah, we named it Gordo. We're trying to find anywhere else for it to go. We're definitely not set up for it here. And we're not farmers.
And are you a fan of goats yourself?
No, I'm terrified of goats.
Coming up, Johanna Wagstaffe will be here to explain the good things that happen in our brains when we spend time outdoors.
The sound of bubbling brooks, the dappled sun, it just feels good to be out in nature. But science backs that feeling up. In fact, the amazing thing about spending a little bit of time out in nature is that nature as a stimuli both decreases negative emotions and increases positive emotions. Other stimuli only usually do one or the other. In nature's case, being out in a world without right-angled patterns, where we're looking at the natural sort of organic fractal patterns, is really relaxing for our brain, and our brain is much better equipped for this world. In fact, studies show after a stressful situation like taking a test, stepping away from the right-angled architecture of a city and into organic patterns, even looking at pictures of nature, is calming for the brain. The other reason why nature is so good for you is we don't have all of the goal-oriented distractions that we get when walking through the concrete jungle. We don't have advertisements or decision-making about when we're going to cross the street. Instead, we can just let our mind be at peace. We're not thinking of our day-to-day stressors. And research shows that it doesn't take much. Just a few minutes, 5 minutes every day is much healthier than, say, a big chunk of time on the weekend. Still, there's a lot to learn when it comes to the science of nature and what that does for our brain. And that's because there's so many good reasons to be outdoors. Better air quality along with all of the increased mood and decreased negative emotions. So science is still trying to pinpoint what exactly is happening in the brain because there's so much good. So whether it's access to the woods, a neighborhood park, or just a downtown tree, there's a lot that nature can do for you. And now, you're science smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me an email. I'll try to get it answered.
Hi, my name is Wayne King, and you're watching Our Vancouver.
Johanna, thanks very much, and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. So, are you thinking about Easter yet? If you are, I'm sure your kids are thinking about all the chocolate they're going to eat, or maybe you are. Well, our next guest knows everything you need to know about chocolate. That's right. Rachel McKinley is Purdys master chocolatier. So welcome and a very happy Easter to you.
Thanks, to you too. Thanks for having me.
What about this term, master chocolatier? It all sounds so official and sweet. What's a chocolatier, a master chocolatier?
What's funny about it is there's no real official designation, but we tend in our industry to call ourselves that once we have a certain level of experience. And I've been doing chocolate for 20 years, so I think I qualify.
Doing chocolate. Okay, and what about your journey with Purdys?
Yeah, I've been with Purdys for almost 8 years, and I absolutely love it. It's such a great place to work, and I just love creating chocolates that bring connection and joy to all of our customers.
Okay, so this is sort of a created term. There's not like a course that you do to get. It's just like, I've spent 20 years in this industry. I'm a master.
There are ways that you can train, absolutely, but the actual official designation doesn't really exist in the way like Red Seal chefs or something like that does. Yeah.
I see. So what is it like? I mean, in your test kitchen, what's your work day like?
It's pretty amazing. So my job is primarily to invent new chocolates. And so I have a test kitchen at our factory kitchen in Vancouver, and I get to play with chocolate every day and play with flavors and try to create beautiful, delicious, exciting chocolates that our customers will be really excited to eat.
I love that. I know you've brought some of them in today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the lead up to Easter and what you've got planned there. But what have you got laid out in front of me here?
So today we're going to make a little custard nest, and it's going to be featuring our chocolates from our Bunny's Choice gift box for Easter and our little beautiful caramel chocolate eggs.
If you insist.
Okay. So what we're going to do first is unroll our puff pastry. Do you want to do it?
Sure. No, you go ahead. You show me. Unroll the puff pastry.
Yeah.
Store-bought, easy peasy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you buy it at the store. It's really quick and easy that way. That makes this a really quick and easy dessert.
Oh, I see.
And all you need is a muffin tin.
Yes.
And you just take the little round and pop it into the tin like that.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Very easy.
Okay.
You want to try?
Sure. I can do a round. I can do a round. Sure. That's the extent of my baking skills right there. And then just pop it in there.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've done, this is really nice. Thank you very much for preparing all the rest of it. So then you bake them.
Yeah, so what we want to do too is we want to actually just add one little strip.
Okay.
And that's to make it look like a nest on the top. So you just take a rough strip, and you can even use those little jiggly bits from the edges so they don't go to waste.
You're twisting.
And you twist it, and you just make a little top of the nest there. So it looks like an egg nest.
Oh, I see. And then it comes all the way up to the top.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Okay. The birds would be impressed.
Hopefully.
The birds would be impressed. Okay.
And then you put some weights inside of it so that it bakes with an empty hollow in it so you can fill it later. So these are just little pie weights. If you don't have these, you can use rice or beans.
Okay, well, I was looking at these as you were setting things up. You know, I thought those were like mini edible eggs, so I don't want to be biting into one.
No, those are made of ceramic. It would hurt a little.
Okay, can you see that? Can you see that in that shot? Look at that. Okay, ceramic eggs.
Yeah.
Not for consumption.
So you can use beans or rice and then just tip it out after.
Yeah.
And then once we're done, I've made this custard here, and you can find this recipe on our website at Purdys.com.
Okay, this is not a cream. I mean, it's creamy, but it's thick, right?
Yeah.
So what's in the custard?
So it is a vanilla custard made with our pecan caramels that come in the Bunny's Choice gift box. So we want to give that a bit of a stir because it cooled.
Oh, look at that.
And then we just want to spoon it right into the egg nest.
Seriously?
There.
Do you want?
Yep.
Yeah, just like
spoon
that
it
much?
right in.
Up to the top, or do you want to leave a little bit of room?
You can leave a little bit of room.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't that
How
look
about
tasty
that?
though? Pecan caramel custard.
And it smells divine. Oh, I've spilled a little bit on the edge there. Okay.
And there's a few ways you can finish this. So you can take some of these little milk eggs, which have caramel in them, or peanut butter. We have peanut butter ones too.
Seriously.
Or you can take some of
butter
the
and chocolate.
beautiful bonbons.
Okay, wait a second. I want to make sure we're getting all of this on camera here. So there we go. So we've spooned, whoops, lost some of these. This is where the weighted ones, I've spooned in a little bit of custard into these ones, and you're putting some eggs on.
Yeah, or you can also decorate it with a bonbon and bring in other flavors.
Right, okay,
So
tell me about this box. This looks pretty special.
This box is our Bunny's Choice gift box.
Okay.
And Purdys, we're really thoughtful about how we celebrate the holidays, and this year we wanted to elevate Easter, so we asked an expert. We asked the Easter Bunny itself which chocolates we should put in the box.
Wait, bunnies don't eat chocolate.
Bunnies,
but they're
they can
intuitive.
choose.
They're intuitive.
You can go to Purdys YouTube and you can find our video of the chocolates that the bunny chose.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. So what do you love about this box? Probably everything, but...
Oh, this box has some of my favorites in it. It has a couple of things that I created myself, which I'm really proud of.
Those out.
This is a Saskatoon berry truffle, very Canadian.
Beautiful.
And this is mango. So those are two of my creations. And then we have a couple of our classic pieces are salted caramel.
My favorite.
Himalayan pink salt caramel in dark chocolate, and then our hedgehogs, which are classic Purdys hazelnut filling.
They are.
And these are the pecan caramels, which is actually what I used in the custard. So you could buy this box, use the pecan caramels in the custard, and then decorate it with some other chocolates from the box.
It's fantastic. It is absolutely. Do you want to do any more decorating, or is that sort of the idea you're going to?
Let's do it.
Oh, look at that. Okay, I want to put this one. This one's
there you go.
beautiful.
Right?
Look at that. And I got a little bit on the edge, so I get to
taste it. It's a rough life.
They're just so delicious. It's delicious, and I love the Purdys local angle. I love the fact that you just keep on giving, and I love the idea of you being in the kitchen, inventing new treats for us to enjoy.
It's really exciting. It's the best job in the world.
Now, I love going into the Purdys store and sort of just perusing all of the options there, but you do have an option to order online, don't you?
Absolutely. You can go to Purdys.com and find all of our beautiful Easter treats for vegans.
Okay, that's important because whether you're diabetic or have sugar issues, or if you're a vegan, so this is becoming more popular, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have an award-winning vegan caramel, and we also have a huge line of no sugar added chocolates for those who are sugar sensitive.
Love it. So something for everyone at Easter and beyond. Rachel, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I see you on the other side, 'cause tonight is you and I.
If you'd like to get out and see some live music, experimental soul artist out of Montreal, Child plays Vancouver's Hollywood Theatre, April 7th. And heavy metal rockers from Victoria, Spirit Box, they bring their hits to the Commodore Ballroom, April 10th.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music, and great news, Hayden, one of this country's most amazing and understatedly brilliant singer-songwriters, is finally returning in 2023 with a new album. I will get to that record in a bit, but first, let's celebrate some of this great artist's long legacy in Canadian music.
Oh, man of mountains lives right down my street. Has a daughter who's 16. That's why she's only a dream.
Going all the way back to 1995, that's Hayden with one of his most beloved songs from the very beginning of his career. That's Bad As They Seem from Hayden's first album, Everything I Long For, which was such a success that it sparked a bidding war for record number 2, which eventually saw Hayden land a huge deal, which was great at the time, but the industry soon went through a major shift, and Hayden found himself back in the independent world just a few years later. But the fans have never left Hayden's side. Oh yeah, from 2008, that's Hayden with Where and When from his great album called In Field and Town. In all, Hayden has to date released 8 albums over the course of his 30-year career, but the last record came out way back in 2015.
There's something I need to restore. Something you don't already know. There's nowhere that you cannot go. There's nowhere that you cannot go.
I want to go on vacation with Hayden. So it's been 8 years since the release of that last record, but the wait ends on April 5th, 2023. That's the date that Hayden's new record, Are We Good? It says says it somewhere on this toque, will be released. Now, Hayden just completed a sold-out solo tour, warming us all up for the new record, and wow, has there ever been some incredible singles released already, including this star-studded clip.
I wanna see, yeah, I mean really see all the beauty that's right in front of me.
I wanna be This ain't meant to be. Hey, listen to how we driver operate heavy machinery. This ain't meant to be. Hey, listen to how we driver operate heavy machinery. Oh yeah, we're on a beach. Oh yeah, we're on a beach. We're drinking income taxes and we're out of reach.
Incredible. What a song. What a return to form. That is Hayden, originally from Thornhill, Ontario, with his latest tune, On a Beach. That video featuring appearances from actor Steve Buscemi, musicians Leslie Feist, and Matt Berninger from The National. Welcome back, Hayden. Thanks to the toque. On a Beach by Hayden is the song that you need to add to your legacy playlist for this week. I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music. I'll check in with you again soon.
Coming up, meet the volunteers that are hoping to save endangered steelhead. Hello and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. You know, we hear so much about endangered wild salmon, but did you know that the steelhead trout is facing a similar threat? Well, meet a group of steelhead anglers working to improve the fish's odds of survival.
I'm a fishing guide on the Fraser for sturgeon and salmon, and I'm a volunteer broodstock angler. And I've been fishing since I was about 6 years old on the Chilliwack Vetter. Sturgeon is my livelihood. Steelhead is my getaway from it all.
Morning. Good, how are you? Good. Any luck today? Steelhead is an ocean-going rainbow trout. When they are present in streams that have an open path to the estuary, fish will migrate to the open ocean before it returns back to its natal stream to spawn. I grew up in Agassiz and spent a lot of time fishing this river in particular. I have great memories of fishing this river when I was a kid with my dad. I lived and breathed fishing. In the late 70s, there was a very steep decline in populations. The Salmon Enhancement Program kicked off in 1977 to rebuild salmon and steelhead populations. Without a lot of these volunteers, this program would not be as successful as it is today, for sure. Because we pretty much rely 100% on volunteer anglers to provide the fish for the broodstock. They have a brood capture tube, so it's like a bag about this long. Well, I can show you. So it's like that. So when you catch a fish, you just kind of lay that, in the water a little bit, the zipper open, and then when you catch the fish and you get it to the shore, you just unhook it and you slip it in there and zip it up, and then you call the hatchery and they'll come and pick it up.
I'm lucky with my job as a guide that I'm able to basically have a pretty relaxed winter. So I was out here fishing all the time anyway, and I thought, why not see if I can get involved and do my part, basically. There's not as many of them. Say you get a few 100,000 salmon that come back, you'll get, 3,000 or so steelhead that'll come back to the vetter. So the age-old thing is they say it's fish with 1,000 casts.
You're not likely to encounter high numbers of fish. You can go days without getting a bite or even seeing a fish. That one time when your float goes down and you hook onto one, it's all those days of nothing seem to fade away.
I've been fishing here since I was really young, I've made a living off the resource. The resource is a huge part of my life, so being able to give back to it is a big thing.
The target is 60 fish, a 50-50 split of male females. With the survivals in the hatchery and everything, that typically gives us around 125,000 smolts. They're released as a 1-year-old smolt. They're now ready to make their migration to the sea. You know, we've been doing this obviously now since 1977, and the numbers back then were a lot lower. Who knows, maybe there would be no steelhead left if the province and the federal government didn't step in and introduce hatchery programs.
I want my kids, if I ever have kids one day, I want them to be able to utilize it, and their kids to be able to utilize it, come out here and catch fish, and it just feels good in that way to be able to come out and do my part and hopefully keep that going.
Hi, my name is Camila and this is our Vancouver.
A Comox Valley group is rebuilding a rare Hawker Typhoon World War II aircraft engine. The painstaking work, it began years ago to locate and then find original pieces. Well, we went to check out the progress.
What we're doing here is an airworthy rebuild of Hawker Typhoon JP-843. The Hawker Typhoon is an aircraft that was flown by 3 dedicated Canadian squadrons during the Second World War, and that being 438, 439, and 440. There was over 3,300 of them built during the war, and there's only one that remains, and it's not airworthy. None have flown since the late 40s, early 50s at best. So we want to put this aircraft together airworthy so people can see and hear it and reminisce and understand what these crews went through during the war. There were actually Typhoons involved with the invasion of Normandy, June 6, 1944, D-Day, Operation Overlord. Typhoons were a major player in that. In approximately 2019, we are well underway with the rebuild of the structure on Hawker Typhoon JP-843, but we're still searching for a Napier Sabre engine that was viable. I approached one of the rare private collectors that owned a Sabre, this one, and I asked him if there's anything that he would do to possibly trade, sell, or would he be willing to donate the engine. That didn't come true, but he, I believe, jokingly said he'll trade the engine for a running Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. We went forward with that, acquired a Rolls-Royce Merlin. It took us just over 3 years of work to build all the systems, overhaul the engine to make it function. So now the process with the airframe and the Napier Sabre is to search through archives, talk to people, search for missing documents, and put as much of that technical information together and dedicate a significant amount of time to being able to reverse engineer and produce the parts that we need to make this aircraft fly again. Everything that we're doing here is being done to airworthy standard. It's all going to be certified, and the goal with this aircraft is to see it fly, to hear the Sabre engine again, and to educate people about the sacrifices these crews made. The day this aircraft flies is going to be unbelievable. I've spent essentially my entire life working to that end. I get excited when we find a document that works for us. To see and hear a Sabre-powered Typhoon fly again is going to be the highlight of my life.
Coming up, glorious hikes in BC's wilds. We'll show you where to spot the blossoms as spring returns. Hi, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, birds are chirping and the sun is shining as spring slowly returns, which means the flowers are starting to bloom. And I caught up with Nature Vancouver's Teresa Gagné on CBC's The Early Edition to find out how to spot wild blossoms. And thank you for bringing in some lovely, not blooms, but wow, some foliage.
There's a few blooms on the other side.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, just why don't you describe what's in that beautiful little jar?
Well, what I brought in was kind of a mix of some of the native plants that are blooming right now, some of our really early bloomers that people should be aware of, because even around the city, in some of the more woodsy parks and along rivers and streams and things, you'll see these. And really the first one to bloom is a plant that's called the osoberry. It used to be called the Indian plum. It's quite a tall shrub, can be anywhere between about 5 and about 7 or 8 feet tall, and it has these upright green leaves and little white bell flowers. And I brought a sample in, but you really can't get the full effect because it's tall. On days like we've been having, the sun shines through those green leaves, and they're just glowing in the forest, these little green torches, and then the little white flowers below them. And they are followed later in the summer by little plum-shaped fruits, which are edible, but I think more kind of quite hard. It's more like something the birds would eat, really, than people. But they are edible.
With your eyes.
Yeah.
With your eyes. Okay.
That's blooming right now. Just started in the last week or so.
It's lovely, delicate looking.
Very
little
delicate.
Flower. I like that.
And another one, which is kind of a similar shape of kind of a dangling little raceme of flowers.
You're undoing your lovely little bouquet for me. Thank you very much.
Is what's called the red flowering currant. We call it red flowering. Usually the flowers are usually some shade of kind of a bright pink color. And this is a lovely shrub. Also has become very popular as a garden shrub. It's has these beautiful magenta pink flowers in the early spring, and kind of a nice spicy smell to the leaves, which I really like. And this is a plant that hummingbirds love. This plant, the tubular red flowers, is just a real magnet for our local hummingbirds, both the Anna's hummingbirds, the green ones that have been here all winter, and the migratory rufous hummingbirds, which winter farther south in California and Mexico, and they time their return to our part of BC for the blooming of this plant and of another pink-flowered plant that people are probably maybe more familiar with, which is the salmonberry, which also has those beautiful, bright, hot pink flowers. And again, the hummingbirds love them, and if you're hiking something, you'll hear the zzz, 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 and it's the hummingbirds at the salmonberries. So those are some of our natives that are blooming right now.
I know. Well, and we tend to think like the first crocuses, the snowdrops, the daffodils. Are any of these like native to BC?
None of the bulbs really that we're seeing in our gardens now are native to BC. They tend to mostly be from Europe and Northern Asia. We do have native flowering bulbs, our trillium, our fawn lilies and things like that, but you aren't as likely to see them around Vancouver, and they'll be later than what these garden plants are. But the trilliums, they're called trillium because they have 3 leaves and 3 petals on the flowers. It's just kind of unusual. And they're a beautiful, pure white, upward-facing flower. And in the next few weeks, you certainly can see them on trails in the North Shore, around, say, Burnaby Lake, north or south side of Burnaby Lake, Lighthouse Park. So they are definitely a plant that's around to see. And they do grow from a bulb or tuber. But yes, nothing really like the kind of showy daffodils and things like that we're seeing in our garden.
Well, and we often see them on our plates at certain restaurants when they use them to adorn certain dishes. What about edible flowers in our midst?
Well, certainly things like little kind of viola, pansy type things like that are edible. And I think probably, things like a currant flower or something you could probably use to garnish a salad or something. I don't do much eating of them. Oh, I do know one though, which is our red-berried elder, the big bushes that make kind of frothy white flowers, and they have red berries. Their berries are not edible for people, but their flowers can actually be used to make an elderberry cordial. You kind of soak the flowers in a sugar syrup, and they make a flavored cordial, and So that's kind of an interesting early spring.
I'm curious about the photograph that you've brought in today. I see a stump that has been cut straight across and then a bunch of dry-looking leaves or vines around it. What is this?
That is a slice of a tree that fell down, and what you're seeing all around the outside, the trunk of the tree looks like it's maybe about 8 or 10 inches diameter, and all around the outside there's this circle of little smaller circles of stems that have been cut through, and that is all English ivy. And English ivy is a very innocent-looking little plant, and indeed it is quite innocent if you're growing it as a house plant or in a little pot by your front door. As long as it keeps small in the juvenile form and it never makes fruit, it's not a problem. But when it gets out in the wild, it grows along the ground, and as soon as it comes to a tree, it grows up the tree, puts these little suckery things into the bark to hold itself up, and it shoots up the tree, gets up where it can get lots of good light, and it takes so much nutrients from the soil, it covers the surrounding soil, chokes out the other flowers, and the weight of it can bring the tree down.
Beware of the wandering ivy. But it does look nice in that arrangement. And Teresa, I know this is just tip of the iceberg, but you've given us lots to watch out for this morning. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ryan, and this is our Vancouver.
My name is Brigitte Crosby. I am the owner of Tidal Foods. It's basically a meat shop. We chose meat because that's the most expensive part of somebody's groceries. All of our pricing is significantly lower than the bigger box stores. Our ribeye is $8 a pound cheaper here than what you're going to get in the store. And our strip loin, it's all AAA. Strip loin is $6 a pound cheaper here. The big thing in my mind is if I could give this price and I'm just a person off the street that's an advocate in our community, then how come the bigger box stores can't give it at a much lower price? I worked at Fraser Health, the hospital, for 35 years. I retired last year. I run this now on my pension check. I don't need to make the money that other people think they need to make in business. I think it's more important to genuinely care about somebody and what people are going through. So you don't have to leave a tip, hun. If you do, it goes to our seniors packages. Sometimes people leave us tips on the debit machine. We choose to put those tips towards our seniors package. So low-income seniors that are struggling in our city are going to get this package for $50 once a month.
I'm on a pension, a senior pension, and the 95% of my pension goes for rent. With the cost of food going up and the cost of meat, it's exorbitant. If it wasn't for Brigitte's place at Tidal Foods, we wouldn't be able to eat meat in my meals. You know, I'm very thankful that I've got Brigitte.
I'm the type of person that wants to feed everybody. I'm Italian. I have to feed the world, right? If I could, for Tidal, I'd like to see it grow right eventually, go through British Columbia and then across Canada. And people know that we're going to be here for them. I think that's the biggest thing.
She's a big part of this community. Because if it wasn't for her, a lot of us wouldn't eat properly.
You really never know how bad it is, and people don't always come forward. And I didn't come forward either. I just was so ashamed, you know. And to reach out and just say, hey, are you okay? That's really an important thing to do, and show that empathy and kindness and make sure you love people.
At the end of this program, we like to tip our hats to our talented photojournalists on staff here at CBC Vancouver. They bring us images in their artful ways to give depth and more character to the stories that we cover. So I'd just like you to take a look at the sampling from what they saw this past week. And that's all for our Vancouver for this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. For now, goodbye.